A new day is beginning. The first rays of sunlight rise over the horizon. Golden light slowly spreads across the sky. The world awakens. Birds sing their morning songs. The wind moves gently through the grass. And somewhere in the distance, a new possibility is waiting. Take a slow breath. Feel the cool morning air filling your lungs. Feel the quiet promise of a brand new day. Because every sunrise offers something precious, a chance to begin again. Most people wake up and step directly into yesterday. Yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's worries, yesterday's habits. They repeat the same routines, follow the same patterns, walk the same paths, and then wonder why their future looks exactly like their past. But today is different. Today, you are about to discover a place hidden beneath the surface of your life. A place few people ever see. A place that quietly shapes your future every single day. Imagine yourself standing at the entrance of a vast valley. Morning mist drifts across the fields. Wildflowers sway in the breeze. The air smells of fresh earth and possibility. Ahead of you stands an ancient stone gate covered in ivy, worn by time, as though it has stood here for centuries. Above the gate, carved into the stone, are 4 simple words: the garden of your habits. You stare at the inscription. Something about it feels familiar. Not because you have seen this place before, but because you have been building it your entire life. With every action, every routine, every choice, you step closer. The gate slowly opens. A warm breeze greets you, and as you walk inside, you immediately notice something strange. Parts of the garden are breathtaking. Rows of healthy trees stretch toward the sky. Beautiful flowers bloom beneath the sunlight. Streams of clear water flow peacefully through the landscape. Yet, other parts tell a different story. The further you walk, the more signs of neglect begin to appear. Overgrown pathways, broken fences, dry soil, areas where nothing seems to grow at all. Curious, you follow a narrow trail into one of the forgotten corners of the garden. The air becomes heavier, the sunlight grows dimmer, and suddenly you find yourself surrounded by weeds. Thousands of them, thick, wild, endless. They twist around the soil, climb over plants, block the sunlight, steal space from everything around them. A weathered wooden sign stands nearby. You brush away the vines covering it. The sign reads, "Procrastination." You continue walking. Another sign appears. Distraction, then another. Self-doubt, then another. Overthinking. The weeds seem to stretch forever, and for a moment, a difficult realization begins to settle into your mind. Nobody planted these. Nobody watered them. Nobody cared for them. Yet they grew anyway. You kneel beside the soil, running your fingers through the earth, and suddenly, you understand something most people never realize. Good habits require intention. Bad habits require neglect. Leave a garden alone long enough, and the weeds will take over. Leave your life unattended long enough, and the same thing happens. The wind moves softly through the field, and for a moment, you think about your own life. The goals you postponed, the skills you meant to learn, the promises you made to yourself, the habits you plan to start someday. Someday, a word that has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. You continue walking, and eventually, the weeds begin to thin. The sunlight returns. The air grows warmer. Ahead, standing alone in a clearing, is the largest tree you have ever seen. Its roots disappear deep into the earth. Its branches reach high into the sky. Strong, steady, unshakable. A plaque hangs from its trunk. You step closer and read the words. The habit of showing up. For a long moment, you simply stand there. Because this tree is not extraordinary, At least, it didn't begin that way. Once, it was only a seed, a small action, a simple decision, repeated over and over until it became something impossible to ignore. You place your hand against the trunk, the bark feels warm beneath your fingers, and as you do, a quiet thought appears inside your mind. Every extraordinary life is built the same way. One habit, one choice, one day at a time. The tree seems to glow softly in the morning light, as if it agrees, as if it has been waiting for you to understand. Then somewhere in the distance, a lantern appears, a small golden light moving between the trees, slowly, patiently, drawing closer. You watch as a figure emerges from the morning mist, an old gardener, calm, wise, unhurried. And somehow, you know that everything is about to change. Because the gardener knows something most people never learn. He knows how futures are grown. The old gardener walks slowly toward you. The lantern in his hand glows softly in the morning light. As he approaches, you notice something unusual about him. He moves without hurry, without stress, without the invisible pressure that seems to follow so many people through life. Every step appears intentional, every movement calm, every breath steady. When he finally reaches you, he smiles warmly, not as though he has just met you, as though he has known you for years, as though he has been expecting you. For a moment, neither of you speaks. The garden around you remains quiet. Birds sing in the distance. The leaves dance gently in the breeze. And somehow, the silence feels comfortable. The gardener looks around at the healthy trees, the struggling plants, the weeds, the forgotten corners. Then he looks back at you. What do you think of your garden? The question catches you off guard. Your garden, not a garden. Your garden. You look around once more. The answer feels complicated. Part of it is beautiful. Part of it needs attention. Part of it makes you proud. Part of it makes you uncomfortable. The gardener nods, as though he understands exactly what you're thinking. Then he begins walking. You follow. Together, you move along a winding path between rows of young plants. Some are thriving, others are barely visible. The gardener suddenly stops, beside a tiny green sprout emerging from the soil. It is so small you almost missed it. He kneels beside it, carefully brushing away a few grains of dirt. Then he asks, "What do you see?" "A seedling," you answer. The gardener smiles. "No." You look again, confused. "It is a future tree." The words settle into the morning air. A future tree, not a seedling, not a possibility, a future tree. The gardener rises slowly. "Most people see what something is," he says. "Very few people see what something can become." The two of you continue walking. Soon you arrive at a section of the garden unlike any other. There are no trees, no flowers, no weeds, only open soil stretching in every direction. The earth is rich, dark, full of potential. The gardener opens a small leather pouch hanging from his belt. Inside are hundreds of tiny seeds. He places a few into your hand. Reading, learning, exercise, patience, discipline, focus, gratitude, consistency. You stare at them. Small, simple, ordinary. The gardener chuckles softly. "Most people underestimate seeds," he says. "They underestimate habits for the same reason." He closes your fingers around them, because both begin too small to impress anyone. A gentle breeze moves through the garden. The sun climbs higher into the sky, and the gardener begins telling you a story. Many years ago, a young man came to this garden. He wanted confidence. He wanted success. He wanted a better life. The gardener pauses, looking out across the fields. But he didn't want the seed. He wanted the tree. You smile because you already know how the story ends. The gardener smiles too. He planted a seed, then came back the next day looking for a forest. The two of you laugh quietly, yet something about the story feels familiar. The gardener notices. It should, he says. Most people live that way. They want results before roots. They want rewards before repetition. They want transformation before commitment. The words hit deeper than expected, because somewhere inside, you recognize the truth. How many goals have people abandoned because progress felt invisible? How many dreams have disappeared simply because they took longer than expected? The gardener continues walking. You follow beside him. Eventually, you arrive at a long row of magnificent trees, tall, healthy, powerful. Each tree carries a small wooden plaque. You move closer. The first plaque reads, 10 years of reading. The next, 8 years of exercise. The next, 5 years of consistency. Another, 7 years of learning. You stare in amazement. The gardener watches your reaction, then says quietly, everyone admires the tree. He places a hand against one of the trunks, but almost nobody admires the days that created it. You look up toward the branches. Thousands of leaves shimmer in the sunlight, and suddenly you imagine all the invisible days behind them. The mornings when motivation was absent. The days when progress felt slow. The moments when quitting would have been easier. Yet someone kept showing up again and again and again. The gardener points toward the roots beneath the earth. Growth always happens twice. You turn toward him, first beneath the surface, then above it. He kneels and presses his hand into the soil. The problem is that most people quit during the invisible stage. The invisible stage. You repeat the phrase in your mind, and suddenly, countless experiences begin to make sense. Learning a language, building a business, improving your health, developing discipline. Everything begins underground, where nobody sees, where nobody applauds, where nobody notices. The gardener stands once more, then turns toward you with a serious expression. Never mistake invisible progress for no progress. The wind grows still. The garden seems to hold its breath, as though even nature wants you to hear these words. Roots are growing every time you keep your promise. Roots are growing every time you show up. Roots are growing every time you choose consistency over comfort. A feeling of hope begins to grow inside you. Not excitement, not motivation, something stronger. Trust. Trust in the process. Trust in small actions. Trust in the power of daily planting. The gardener smiles because he can see the lesson taking root. Then he points toward the horizon. Far beyond the fields, far beyond the trees, you see something extraordinary. A magnificent valley, glowing beneath the morning sun. Brilliant colors, towering trees, crystal streams. A place more beautiful than anything you have seen so far. The gardener's eyes sparkle. That, he says softly, is the garden of possibilities. You stare at the distant valley, wondering what waits there. The gardener begins walking, and for the first time, you feel eager to follow, because deep inside, you are beginning to understand something powerful. Your future is not built by what you do once. It is built by what you do repeatedly. One habit, one choice, one seed at a time. And somewhere beyond the horizon, your future self is already waiting. The path stretches before you. The wise gardener walks quietly at your side. The morning sun continues to climb higher into the sky. Its golden light spills across the hills, across the trees, across the endless landscape. And somewhere ahead, beyond the horizon, waits the garden of possibilities. You walk for what feels like hours. Yet somehow, the journey never feels tiring, because with every step, something inside you feels lighter. The weeds of doubt seem farther away. The forgotten corners of the garden seem smaller, and the seeds in your pocket feel more valuable than ever before. Eventually, you reach the top of a hill. The gardener stops, you stop beside him, and then you see it. The valley below. For a moment, words fail you. The garden of possibilities stretches farther than the eye can see. Rivers sparkle like liquid silver beneath the sunlight. Fields of flowers dance in the breeze. Forests sway gently beneath the morning sky. Everywhere you look, life flourishes. Everything feels alive. Everything feels abundant. Everything feels possible. The gardener smiles, not because he is impressed, because he has seen this place many times before. "Welcome," he says softly, "to the future." You stare at him, then back at the valley. "The future?" The gardener nods. This is what happens when small seeds are given enough time. The words settle into your heart, and together, you begin descending into the valley. As you walk deeper into the garden of possibilities, you begin noticing different regions, each one more extraordinary than the last. The first forest you enter is called health. Massive trees rise toward the sky, strong, resilient, full of life. Their roots run deep beneath the earth. Their branches stretch endlessly above. The gardener touches one of the trunks. This forest was planted one walk at a time. One walk at a time, not one dramatic transformation, not one perfect month. One walk, repeated again and again. You continue forward. Soon, you arrive at another section, knowledge. Thousands of books hang from the branches like fruit. Every page represents something learned. Every book represents curiosity that refused to die. The gardener smiles. "Most people wait until they feel ready to learn," he says. "The people who grow simply begin." You walk on. Ahead lies another area, relationships. Beautiful flowers bloom everywhere. Each flower unique. Each flower thriving because someone chose to care for it. The gardener kneels beside one. "Relationships grow the same way habits do," he says. Small acts of attention, repeated over time. The breeze carries the scent of flowers through the air, and suddenly, the entire valley begins to feel connected. Health, knowledge, relationships, growth. Everything grows from the same principle. Small actions, repeated consistently. Then you arrive somewhere unexpected. A long stone pathway, simple, beautiful, stretching far into the distance. You look around. There are no giant trees here, no magnificent flowers, no sparkling rivers, only the path. The gardener notices your confusion, then points toward the stones beneath your feet. You kneel down and begin reading the words carved into them. Finished a workout, read 10 pages, practiced anyway, kept a promise, showed up, showed up, showed up, showed up. The words continue for as far as you can see. The gardener smiles. This is the path of confidence. You stare at the stones. At first, it seems strange. Confidence should be a mountain, a castle, a monument. Yet here it appears as a simple path. The gardener speaks gently. Confidence is not built by thinking. It is built by evidence. The words strike something deep inside you because suddenly you understand. Confidence isn't something people find. It is something they earn. One promise kept at a time. One action completed at a time. one habit repeated at a time. The path continues forward, and as you follow it, a strange feeling begins to grow. A feeling that someone is watching, not in a frightening way, in a familiar way. The gardener notices and smiles. There is someone waiting for you. Your heartbeat quickens. You continue walking. The path leads toward the center of the valley, toward a giant tree unlike any other. Its branches spread across the sky. Its roots stretch deep into the earth. Golden leaves shimmer in the sunlight, and beneath the tree sits a single person, waiting. The closer you get, the more familiar they seem. The shape of their face, the way they stand, the way they smile. Something about them feels impossible to ignore. The gardener stops walking. You must go alone from here. You turn toward him, but he simply smiles and steps back. The rest of the journey belongs to you. You take a deep breath and continue forward. The person beneath the tree slowly stands, calm, confident, peaceful, strong. Not because life has been easy, because they have grown through it. The closer you get, the clearer it becomes. You already know who this is. You have known all along. It is you, not who you are today, who you could become. The future version of yourself. The version created by thousands of small choices, thousands of ordinary days, thousands of tiny habits. They smile warmly, as though they have been waiting years for this meeting. And perhaps they have. For a long moment, neither of you speaks. The wind moves gently through the leaves above. Sunlight dances across the grass. The valley glows around you. Finally, your future self speaks, a calm voice, steady, certain. Do you know what changed everything? You think about success, discipline, luck, motivation, but your future self shakes their head. It wasn't one big moment. A smile appears on their face. It was 1,000 small ones. You sit beneath the tree together, listening. Every word feels important. The day I exercised when I didn't feel like it. The day I read instead of scrolling. The day I started before I felt ready. The day I tried again. They look out across the valley. Most of the moments that changed my life felt completely ordinary. The words settle deeply into your heart because they are not dramatic. They are true. Your future self turns toward you, their eyes full of kindness. Then they ask a question that changes everything. What seed will you plant today? The valley becomes silent. The wind grows still. And for the first time, you realize something extraordinary. Your future is not waiting somewhere ahead. It is growing beneath your feet, right now, with every habit, every choice, every action, every day. The giant tree rustles softly above you, and far beyond the valley, a mountain rises into the sky. Its peak shines with golden light. Your future self notices you looking and smiles. There's one more lesson, they say. The lesson that turns habits into identity. You follow their gaze toward a mountain, tall, ancient, waiting, the mountain of becoming. You leave the valley behind. The garden of possibilities slowly fades into the distance. The giant tree, the rivers, the fields of flowers, the future self, all of it remains visible behind you, like a beautiful memory, like a glimpse of what could be. Ahead, the mountain of becoming rises into the sky, its peak hidden among the clouds, its slopes illuminated by the morning sun. You begin walking toward it. For a while, everything feels clear, certain, hopeful. The lessons make sense. The path feels obvious. The future seems possible. You carry a quiet confidence within you, the confidence that comes from understanding, the confidence that comes from seeing what is possible. Then something changes. The wind shifts, the air grows colder. You stop walking. Dark clouds begin gathering above the mountain. Slowly, silently, the sunlight starts to disappear. Shadows stretch across the land. The birds fall silent. The atmosphere changes. The gardener looks toward the sky, yet he does not seem concerned, not surprised, almost as if he expected this. You continue walking, but with every step, the clouds grow darker. The wind grows stronger. The mountain ahead becomes harder to see. Then the first drop of rain falls, a single drop, followed by another, then another. Soon rain begins falling across the landscape, cold, relentless. The beautiful path becomes muddy. The sky becomes gray. The future that seemed so clear only moments ago begins to disappear behind the storm. A feeling rises inside you, a familiar feeling, doubt. The gardener continues walking, but now your steps feel heavier. Questions begin appearing in your mind. What if I fail? What if I start and quit again? What if I never become that future version of myself? What if I'm already too late? The storm seems to hear every question, because with every doubt, the wind grows stronger. The rain falls harder. The path becomes more difficult to follow. Soon, you can barely see the mountain at all. The future that once looked so close now feels impossibly far away. You stop. The gardener notices. He turns toward you. For a moment, neither of you speaks. Rain falls around you. The wind moves through the trees. The sky rumbles overhead. Then the gardener asks quietly, "What are you afraid of?" The question hangs in the storm. You think about it. And suddenly, the answer becomes clear. You are not afraid of hard work. You are not afraid of growth. You are afraid of trying and failing. The gardener nods, as though he has heard this answer thousands of times before, because perhaps he has. He looks toward the storm, then says, "Most people believe storms are the enemy." Lightning flashes across the sky. The mountain disappears behind the rain. The gardener continues, "But storms serve a purpose." You look at him, confused. How could this possibly serve a purpose? The gardener points toward a group of enormous trees nearby. The wind pushes against them. The rain crashes into their branches. Yet they do not fall. They bend. But they remain standing, strong, steady, unshaken. The gardener smiles, then shares a truth that echoes through the entire valley. Storms do not destroy strong roots. A flash of lightning illuminates the landscape. The gardener continues. They reveal them. The words settle deep inside you. You look again at the trees, and suddenly you understand. The roots were always there. The storm did not create their strength. The storm revealed it. The gardener walks toward one of the giant trees. Its roots stretch deep into the earth, invisible, powerful, steady. He places his hand against the trunk. Anyone can feel confident on a sunny day. The wind howls across the mountain. Character is revealed when the storm arrives. The rain continues falling, but now something feels different. You begin seeing the storm differently, not as an obstacle, as a test of patience, a test of commitment, a test of identity. The gardener turns toward you, his eyes calm despite the chaos around him. Then he asks another question. Will you only plant seeds when the weather is perfect? The answer comes immediately, no, because perfect weather never lasts. Neither do perfect circumstances. Neither do perfect moods. The gardener smiles. Now you understand. Discipline is not continuing when everything feels easy. Discipline is continuing when everything feels difficult. The storm intensifies. Rain crashes against the earth. the path becomes almost invisible, and suddenly, a voice appears inside your mind. A voice you recognize. The voice of excuses. The voice that says, "Start tomorrow. Wait until you're motivated. You already failed before. Maybe you're not the kind of person who succeeds." The words feel real, powerful, convincing. The gardener notices your struggle, then points toward the mountain. Through the storm, you can barely make out its outline. "It is time," he says. "Time for your next lesson." You stare toward the mountain. The climb now seems impossible. The weather is terrible. The path is unclear. The summit is hidden. Yet something inside you has changed. The storm is still there. The doubts are still there. The fear is still there. But they no longer control your direction. You take a single step forward, then another, then another. The gardener smiles, because this is the moment that matters. Not when you felt inspired, not when the sun was shining. This moment, the moment you continue anyway, the moment you move despite uncertainty, the moment you choose action over excuses, the moment you become stronger than your doubts. The rain slowly begins to ease. The wind grows quieter. The clouds start to break apart. And through a gap in the storm, a beam of sunlight touches the mountain peak. Bright, golden, beautiful. The summit is visible once more. The path is still there. The future is still there. And for the first time, you realize something powerful. The storm never blocked the path. It revealed who was willing to keep walking. With renewed strength, you continue toward the mountain, ready for the lesson that waits above. The lesson hidden inside identity itself. The lesson that changes everything. The storm slowly fades behind you. The rain becomes a memory. The dark clouds drift across the horizon, and ahead, the mountain of becoming stands beneath a sky of gold and blue. You continue climbing. The wise gardener walks quietly beside you. Neither of you speaks. The lesson of the storm still echoes within you. The lesson that strength is not built when life is easy. Strength is revealed when life becomes difficult. The path grows steeper. The air becomes cooler. The world below seems smaller now. Far in the distance, you can still see the garden of possibilities, the rivers, the forests, the giant tree where you met your future self. Everything feels connected. Every lesson, every step, every seed, every storm. As you climb higher, you begin noticing something unusual carved into the mountainside. Large stone arches, ancient and beautiful, each one covered with symbols and inscriptions. The gardener stops before the largest arch. Above it, 3 words are carved into the stone: the Hall of Identities. The doors slowly open. You step inside. The chamber is enormous, larger than anything you expected. Rows of mirrors stretch endlessly into the distance, hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. The room glows with soft, golden light, and every mirror reflects a different person: a musician, a writer, a teacher, an athlete, a leader, a builder, a learner, a creator. Each mirror seems alive, as though it contains more than a reflection, as though it contains a belief. You walk slowly through the hall, curious. The gardener follows quietly. Then he asks, "What does a runner do?" "A runner runs," you answer. The gardener nods. "What does a reader do?" "A reader reads." Again, he nods. Then he stops before another mirror. "What does a healthy person do?" The answer comes naturally. "They take care of their body." The gardener smiles. Then he says something that changes the way you see yourself forever. Most people try to change their actions. The mirrors glow softly, but lasting change begins when you change your identity. The words echo through the chamber. Identity, not goals, not motivation. Identity. You stare into one of the mirrors, and suddenly you see yourself. Not as you are, as you believe you are. You see every label you have carried, every story you have repeated, every limitation you have accepted. The mirror begins to shift, showing different versions of you. One version says, I am bad at learning languages. Another says, I never stay consistent. Another says, I always quit. Another says, I'll start someday. The reflections continue changing, one after another. You realize something startling. Many of these identities were never true. They were simply repeated. Repeated so often that they began to feel real. The gardener places a hand on your shoulder, then points toward another mirror. This one is different. The reflection stands taller, calmer, stronger, not perfect, growing. Above the mirror are simple words. I am a person who shows up. The gardener smiles. That identity changes everything. You stare at the reflection, and something inside you begins to shift. Because a person who shows up does not need motivation every day. A person who shows up keeps going. A person who shows up plants seeds. A person who shows up returns after failure. A person who shows up continues after the storm. The gardener walks deeper into the hall. You follow. Soon, you arrive at the center of the chamber. There, suspended above a circle of stone, hangs a glowing scale, balanced perfectly. On one side rests a single golden stone. The gardener points toward it. What do you think this is? You step closer. The stone is engraved with one word, identity. The gardener nods. Then he points toward thousands of tiny glowing lights floating through the air. What are those? You ask. The gardener smiles. Votes. Votes. The word feels strange, yet familiar. One glowing light drifts past you. Inside it, you see a memory. Someone reading 10 pages. Another light passes. A morning walk. Another. Practicing despite feeling tired. Another. Choosing patience instead of quitting. Thousands of tiny moments, tiny actions, tiny decisions. The gardener's voice fills the chamber. And then comes the lesson hidden at the heart of the mountain. The lesson every path has been leading toward. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. The entire hall falls silent. The words seem to echo forever. Every habit is a vote. Every choice is a vote. Every action is a vote. Not for who you were, not for who you wish you were, for who you are becoming. You watch as thousands of glowing votes drift toward the scale. One by one, small, almost insignificant. Yet, together, they begin changing the balance. Slowly, patiently, powerfully. The gardener looks at you. Nobody becomes confident in a single day. Nobody becomes disciplined in a single day. Nobody becomes extraordinary in a single day. The scale continues moving, tiny vote by tiny vote. But every day they cast another vote. The realization hits deeply. You don't become a writer by finishing a book. You become a writer every time you write. You don't become healthy by reaching a goal. You become healthy every time you choose health. You don't become disciplined when life becomes easy. You become disciplined every time you act despite resistance. The chamber glows brighter. The mirrors shimmer. The votes continue floating through the air. And suddenly, you understand why small actions matter. Because actions become habits. Habits become identity. Identity becomes destiny. The gardener smiles because he knows the lesson has landed. Then he points toward a staircase leading upward, toward the highest part of the mountain, toward a place hidden above the clouds. a place where one final lesson waits. The gardener's voice softens. Come. It is time to see what becomes of a life built one vote at a time. You look toward a staircase, toward a summit, toward the final destination, and together you begin climbing toward the place where habits become legacy, toward the place where seeds become forests, toward the place where futures become reality, toward the legacy tree. The staircase winds upward through the clouds. Each step feels quieter than the last. The world below slowly disappears beneath a blanket of white. The valleys, the forests, the rivers, the gardens, all hidden now. Yet somehow, you know they are still there. Just as every lesson remains within you. You continue climbing beside the wise gardener. The air feels different here, clearer, lighter, almost timeless. The sunlight glows softly through the clouds. The silence feels sacred. And then, at last, you reach the summit. For a moment, you simply stand there, speechless. Because before you stands something beyond imagination. A tree unlike anything you have ever seen. Its trunk is wider than a house. Its roots disappear deep into the mountain itself. Its branches stretch across the sky. Thousands upon thousands of golden leaves shimmer in the sunlight. The entire summit seems to glow from its presence. The tree radiates wisdom, strength, patience, time. The gardener smiles, his eyes filled with quiet pride. Welcome, he says softly, to the legacy tree. You move closer, drawn toward it, almost as if the tree recognizes you. The air around it feels warm, alive, peaceful. You place your hand against its trunk, and instantly, something extraordinary happens. The tree begins to glow. Golden light flows through its branches. The leaves begin to shimmer, and suddenly, the world around you transforms. Images appear everywhere, floating among the branches, living memories from a future not yet lived. You see yourself waking up early, not because you have to, because it has become part of who you are. You see yourself reading, learning, growing, one page at a time. You see yourself exercising, walking, moving, caring for your health, not perfectly, consistently. You see yourself speaking with confidence, not because fear disappeared, because courage became a habit. The images continue. You see stronger friendships, meaningful conversations, new opportunities, dreams becoming reality, skills becoming mastery, small improvements becoming remarkable transformations. And suddenly, your eyes begin to fill with emotion, because now you can see the truth. Every extraordinary moment began as something ordinary. Every achievement began as a small choice. Every success began as a seed. The tree glows brighter. Its branches reach farther. Its leaves continue revealing scenes from your future. Then one leaf breaks free, floating gently toward you. You catch it in your hand. Words appear across its surface. Read 10 pages. Another leaf drifts downward. Went for a walk. Another. Started anyway. Another. Practiced English. Another. Kept a promise. Another. Tried again. Thousands of leaves. Thousands of tiny moments. Moments most people would never remember. Yet together, they built an entire life. Your life. The gardener stands beside you, then quietly says, "Great lives are rarely built in great moments." You look toward him. They are built in small moments remembered by nobody. The words settle deeply into your heart, because now you can see them. The hidden mornings, the invisible effort, the quiet persistence, the choices that felt insignificant, yet changed everything. The tree continues glowing, and suddenly, one final image appears, clearer than all the others. A person standing beneath the legacy tree, older, wiser, peaceful, strong. You recognize them immediately. It is you. Many years from now, the future version of yourself, the final version shaped by every seed you planted, every habit, every vote, every choice. They smile. And as they do, you feel something powerful. Gratitude. Not for luck, not for talent, not for perfect circumstances. Gratitude for showing up. The older version of you takes a step forward, then speaks, a voice calm and full of wisdom. Thank you. The mountain falls silent. Even the wind seems to stop. The older version continues. Thank you for beginning. Thank you for continuing. Thank you for planting seeds when you couldn't yet see the forest. Thank you for trusting the process. The words strike your heart because suddenly you understand. Your future self is not asking for perfection. They are asking for consistency, not giant victories, small daily promises, not dramatic change, steady growth. The older version smiles again, then says one final thing, the most important lesson of all. The future was never built in the years. It was built in the days. The words echo across the summit. Built in the days, built in the mornings, built in the habits, built in the choices, built in the seeds. The legacy tree shines brighter than ever before. Its golden leaves dance in the sunlight. And for the first time, you truly understand. Success is not an event. It is a garden. A garden planted one day at a time. A garden protected through storms. A garden nurtured with patience. A garden that eventually becomes a forest. The gardener places a hand on your shoulder, then points toward the horizon. The sun is rising higher now. A new day has fully arrived. And with it comes one final realization. You do not need to become your future self today. You only need to plant today's seed. The summit grows quiet. The tree stands tall. The sunlight warms your face. And deep inside, a new commitment begins to grow. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. The commitment to keep showing up, to keep planting, to keep growing. One day at a time. One habit at a time. One seed at a time. And somewhere within the branches of the legacy tree, a place has already been prepared for the life you are about to create. The life that begins today. The final return. For a long moment, you remain beneath the legacy tree. The golden leaves continue to shimmer above you. The sunlight warms your face. The mountain air feels fresh and alive. Everything is quiet. Not the silence of emptiness, the silence of understanding, the kind of silence that appears when a lesson finally reaches the heart. You look one last time toward the magnificent tree, its roots disappearing deep into the mountain, its branches stretching endlessly toward the sky. A living reminder of what patience can create. A living reminder of what happens when small actions are repeated long enough. The wise gardener stands beside you, calm as always, patient as always. He smiles. And for the first time since you met him, you notice something different. His lantern, the same lantern he carried through the forgotten garden, the same lantern he carried through the storm, the same lantern that guided every step of the journey. Its light is beginning to fade, not because it is dying, because it is no longer needed. The gardener notices your gaze, then gently places the lantern into your hands. The metal feels warm. The light glows softly inside. You look at him, confused. The gardener smiles. "This was never my light," he says quietly. "It was always yours." The words settle into your heart because suddenly you understand the wisdom, the strength, the discipline, the patience, the courage. None of it came from the gardener. The gardener only helped you see what was already within you. The wind moves softly across the summit. The gardener steps back, his smile calm and peaceful. Then he says, "You know the way now." You look around. The forgotten garden, the garden of possibilities, the storm of doubt, the mountain of becoming, the legacy tree. Every place, every lesson, every step. They are all part of you now. You no longer need someone to guide you, because the path is no longer outside you. The path is within you. The gardener begins walking toward the sunlight, slowly, peacefully, until eventually he disappears beyond the golden horizon, leaving you standing alone beneath the tree. Yet somehow, you do not feel alone, because you are carrying something far more valuable than certainty. You are carrying trust. Trust in the process. Trust in growth. Trust in yourself. You take a deep breath, then begin walking down the mountain. The journey home has begun. The clouds part as you descend. The valleys reappear. The forests return. The rivers sparkle below. The entire world seems brighter than before. Not because the world changed, because you changed. You walk past the hall of identities. And as you do, the mirrors reflect something new. Not who you were, not who you hope to become, who you are becoming right now. A person who shows up, a person who plants seeds, a person who continues despite storms, a person who grows. You continue downward, past the places where doubt once lived, past the places where fear once whispered, past the places where excuses once seemed convincing. The mountain feels different now, because now you know something powerful. The obstacles were never there to stop you. They were there to shape you. Far below, the garden of possibilities comes into view once again. The forests seem larger, the rivers brighter, the future closer. And for the first time, you realize something extraordinary. That future was never far away. It was growing quietly every time you chose consistency, every time you chose patience, every time you planted another seed. The journey continues, and eventually, you arrive once more at the forgotten garden, the place where everything began. Yet, it no longer feels forgotten, because now you know what it truly is. It is today. The forgotten garden was never a place. It was the present moment, the piece of soil where every future begins. You stop beside the ancient stone gate, the same gate you entered through at the beginning of the journey. Morning sunlight shines across the valley. The world is fully awake now. A new day stands before you, full of possibility, full of opportunity, full of seeds waiting to be planted. You take one final look back. The garden, the mountain, the tree, the gardener. Everything slowly fades into the morning light, not disappearing, becoming part of you, becoming part of the story you will continue writing. One habit at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. And as you step forward into this new day, remember, you do not need to change your entire life today. You do not need to build the forest today. You do not need to become your future self today. You only need to plant today's seed. Because every habit is a vote. Every choice is a seed. Every day is a piece of soil. And every future is a garden waiting to grow. Take a slow breath. Feel the possibility of this moment. Feel the strength you have built. Feel the roots already growing beneath the surface. Trust them. Trust yourself. Trust the garden. And if this journey inspired you, if it helped you see your future a little more clearly, consider joining us again for the next chapter, because this is only the beginning. Until then, keep planting, keep growing, keep showing up, And never underestimate the power of a single seed. The future is not something you find, it is something you plant. And today is a beautiful day to begin.